Hey there, it's Leah from CoSchedule. In this lesson, I'm going to be talking to you about how to use social templates to drive more traffic to your blog and to save a ton of time by letting CoSchedule write your social media messages for you. By the end of this lesson, you'll learn how to create the perfect social sharing schedule, how to use social templates using default social helpers, as well as how to use social templates with custom social helpers. The first thing that we're going to do is create your perfect social sharing strategy on a blog post. Navigate over to your CoSchedule calendar and open up a blog post on your calendar. Next, you'll want to add the link to the blog post that you've created. And under that, you'll see what we call a social sharing queue. Now what this does is it makes it easier for you to share your blog post content on social media multiple times. The more times you post about it on social media, the more likely your audience is to see it, which means the more traffic you'll get to your blog. So you'll create several social media messages in this queue right here. Let's start by adding one on the same day as published. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play around with these default social helpers that we have in CoSchedule. Now what you'll do is you'll add a curly Q parentheses and then you'll choose the option that says title. Next, choose another curly Q parentheses and then choose permalink. Now what this does is it automatically pulls the title from any blog post as well as the link from that blog post. If we preview this, add a social profile as well, and then we'll preview what this looks like here in Twitter. Now as you can see, it's got the title to the blog post as well as the link. And then I'm going to save that, and I'm going to add now another social media message for the next day. But this time, I am going to add a curly Q, and then I'm going to choose the excerpt there. Next, I'm going to add another curly Q with the permalink, and now we can see that we have another social media message that's been created. Go ahead and continue adding messages to your social queue using those three default helpers. So using that permalink, the title, as well as the excerpt. As you can see now, I've added a few more social media messages into this queue using those three default helpers. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to save this as a template for you to apply to future blog posts. To do so, click the templates icon. Use the drop-down menu here that says Save Existing. Now you'll want to name this something general here. So I'm going to name this blog post and then default, because we're using those default social helpers here, title and permalink. Then go ahead and click close. And you'll see that default helper here under your templates options. Now I'm going to close out of that blog post, and I am going to open up a new blog post on the calendar right here. Now once you've opened that blog post on your calendar, click to add a social campaign and add the link to the blog post that you want to promote. Then click the templates icon and apply that default blog post social template that we just created. Click apply and you will see several social media messages kind of magically appear on your queue. So basically now what you've done is you've written an entire list of social media messages in just a few seconds, just by applying that social template. So if we open one of them in preview, you can see that it's pulled that excerpt that we were talking about as well as that permalink here. So you've just created a whole bunch of social media messages with the click of a button. It's pretty cool, and it's actually one of my favorite features about CoSchedule. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another social template using custom helpers. Custom helpers give you some additional flexibility that you can't use with those default helpers. Start by opening up a blog post on your calendar. Add that link to the blog post that you want to promote. And then we're going to click the templates area over here and then choose the option that says create new. We're going to call this blog post, and then we're going to say custom because this is the social template that's using those custom helpers. Then click next. Using this drop-down new helper, add a new text helper here that says urgency. Use that drop-down again to add another one that says how to. Finally, choose another text helper and choose the option that says quote. Now we have 3 different custom social helpers here. The next thing you'll want to do is start building a queue using those custom social helpers. Now I'm actually going to build a queue using a combination of the default helpers as well as these custom helpers. So on the same day, I'm going to add a social media profile here, and then title and permalink, that looks good, and then I'm going to save. I'm going to add another social media message on the same day, but I'm going to delete that title and I'm going to add the urgency custom helper that I created. Then on the day after, I'm going to add another social media message using one of those custom helpers that I created. I'm going to add the option here that says how to and then save. I'm going to add another one for the week after. Here I'm going to add the quote option and then add a social profile there and then click save. I'm going to add one more. This time I'm going to say urgency and then save. Now, as you can see, I've done a little bit of a combination here between those custom helpers and the default helpers. If you want to add more, you can add another social media message, and let's say that we want to add the option that says excerpt there. Now you can see I've built out a social sharing schedule here using that default helper as well as these custom helpers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this, and then I'm going to apply that custom helper to my blog post. Now once you have applied that template to your blog post, click the helpers icon here. Now what you'll do is you'll add custom text under these helpers that are relevant for that specific blog post that you're promoting. So under the how to, add a little text about how to do the recipe or how to do the craft or how to do whatever is being promoted in that blog post or whatever is being talked about in that blog post. So here I've added text, how to make the best roasted veggies, because this blog post is about roasted vegetables. Now under the urgency, you'll want to add a little bit of urgency text to get people to want to read that blog post. So I've added text here that says, "Don't miss this awesome recipe for roasted veggies." Now under the quote option, I've just pulled a little bit of text from that blog post here and added it as a quote. Now what these custom helpers do is they pull that text and automatically apply it to the area or the message that has that custom helper. So this one we see the how to. So it's pulled that how to social helper here into this social media message. So anywhere you've used that social helper, it pulled that text in. That basically means that you only need to write 3 messages and then they get applied everywhere in that social template. So you don't have to write that message over and over again. It automatically gets pulled over to that queue. So that's how to use custom social helpers to add some extra flexibility into your social templates in CoSchedule. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn about social templates in CoSchedule.